right, so let's go over the market here. I will be updating this probably after the live session, so that way I can show you guys what I'm talking about. I'll just use this for the current market recap. But I want to zoom out, as always, going to the 4-hour chart here. Since the beginning of the week, these highs here have been the draw that we've been looking for. It's been pretty slow paced. I mean, it's been taking its time consolidating for a couple days here, but regardless, looking at the 4-hour for opportunities is really going to help us out intraday. So the 4-hour or the 1-hour chart. So what I always like to do is observe two things. If lows are being left behind, number one, in this case they are, and then if highs are being taken out, which they are. Next, I want to look for higher time frame points of interest. So as you guys know, I like to look at MBZs. So what I'll do is just turn this on so I can show you guys. But we do have an MBZ right here from December 3rd, 10 o'clock candle. So I'm just going to wait for this to load. There is another one here and then one more here, which I can show you both. So yeah, we have a pretty good area and hot spot for longs is what I like to call it, based off the higher time frame. Not only that, you have a directional bias because, as we know, this is a bullish MBZ. So all I have to do is draw this and go down to the lower time frame, and then we can use this for opportunities in the market intraday or as a swing trader, right? So now the picture's coming together. We understand where the market wants to go. We understand that it's not taking out lows, it's taking out highs. So our focus should be on this bullish MBZ, right? Give me a thumbs up if this makes sense so far, and then I'll continue to the lower time frame. So I always like to draw them and keep them on my charts here. So think about it like that, right? We have direction. We have a general area for opportunities to look for lower time frame entries. How can we make this better? So before I continue, I'm just going to write everything down, and then I'll be posting this later. And then I'll be updating this indicator later so you guys can see the same thing. We're just going to enable this and then drop down to the 15-minute. So what I talked about so far, and we're going to turn these off here, is grading entries, right? So the actual grading of these entries, I'm going to make them pop up to the middle right over here just so we can go over real quick what I talked about. We can make this pop up until market close here. And it's going to pop up right over here. So first of all, A+, what makes an A+ setup for me, right? What do I look for? And this is what I just went over. Understanding the structure on the higher time frame. That's something that we have to look for. Next, higher time frame directional bias based on MBZs or SIFs, which I just showed you guys, right? On the 4-hour, we have a bullish MBZ. So now I have all of those mixed together. Next, statistical premium or discount, which is super easy, right? Then after that, we have the lower time frame entry. That's pretty much it. Next, the B+ rating, for example, what would make it a B+? Well, if it's missing one variable from the A+, but we still have that lower time frame entry. What makes this a C+? Missing two variables, but we still have a lower time frame entry. So the logic behind this and why I want to point this out is because a lot of people are stuck trading C plus entries. What I mean by that is you find a new technique to enter the market and you're using it as a pattern. What's important is to add confluence and extra things to help you. And this by far is the best that I could tell you guys. And then when you add everything together, it's a much better setup versus just entering a lower time frame entry and then missing all the other variables. So before we continue further, just give me a thumbs up if you guys understand that, or type a 1. And then we're going to have it over here on the right. Could probably make it bigger. There we go. Then I'll make this blue, or we can make it bright orange so it's easier to see. There we go. Cool. So what do we have here now, right? We have, number one, we understand the structure on the higher time frame. We're clearly bullish. We're leaving lows behind, and we're taking out highs. And number two, we have a higher time frame directional bias based on the MBZs or SIFs, which we just looked at. So now, what do I need left? Maybe I need a statistical premium or discount. So let's see if we can find one. I'm just going to turn this on. And if you have the DTT indicators, you can also use AMRP, but it's also just built into right here. So I'll show you what I mean. We're going to make this higher time frame MBZ orange. So as we can see, price digged into it, right? And what did it do? It pushed away. It's bullish. Next, we need a statistical premium or discount. So because we're looking for a bullish opportunity, what are we looking for? A discount, right? And here it is. So now my question to you guys is, based off what I just talked about and based off this MBZ that popped up here at the end of the day, what kind of setup is this? What would you guys give it? A plus, B plus, or C plus? Merch gave it an A minus. Close enough, right? It's in the A category. Okay, so now my next question is, should you put on decent risk on this because we know it's a good setup and we should be comfortable with that? Or should we put less risk? In this case, I would say decent risk because this is a really good setup, right? And it's not just on the 15-minute. I'll show you guys here on the 5 as well. But let's say we did not have a discount from the statistical zones, or this did not exist and we had no 4-hour MBZ. Then we'd be in the B plus category or the B rating, right? Because of that, then we should put less risk. Doesn't mean we can't enter. It just means try it, but with less risk. Now, C plus setups or C rating setups. A lot of traders just enter these here and they don't understand that the risk matters based on the grading of the setup. So if you see a C plus setup, nowadays, I don't really suggest even trading C plus setups. But regardless, if you do see a C plus setup and you want to try it out, what I recommend is just lowering size a lot, okay? But if you have an A plus setup, it's pretty good. No, I caught a morning short, so that was a pretty good opportunity as well. But this was a nice long opportunity. Good question, Merch. Now, does anyone else have any other questions before I continue here? So again, this is the 4-hour MBZ, 15-minute. Now let's drop down to the 5 here. So what you guys are going to see is a couple of opportunities here, right? We have a short setup that played out, and I think there was more opportunities throughout the rest of the day. And then we also have some long opportunities. So let's talk about this, right? What I'm going to do is go here, and I'm going to turn this off, which is deleting invalidated MBZs. So that way we can see how the setups played out throughout the day. And based off what I talked about, you'll see the difference. So here we have all kinds of setups, right? Now let me just increase this here. So we have more statistical zones. And so there was a few setups here, right? Or I think around 10, 12, based on all of them throughout New York. Now, what I want to point out is this one here, first of all. We have a bearish MBZ, but as I mentioned, what is the market doing? It's bullish, number one. Number two, there's no higher time frame bearish zone. So what is this setup here? We're also not in a premium, right? So what rating is this setup here? Let's see if someone can type it. And then we'll move a lot quicker as we approach. That way you guys can understand the difference and when to put on more risk, when to put less risk. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys. This here is a C, right? Or even I would give it a D because it's before New York Open. New York Open, we tend to see volatile conditions. So here, we're missing quite a number of variables. Now up here, what is this? This is a B+. Why? We're in a premium. We're experiencing SMT. And we're approaching New York Open. So I would give this a B-. You can put a little more risk on this one. Right? Mentioning we have a lower grade setup here, a B rated setup here, because we're in a premium. And now this one here, I want to make sure you guys understand this one. This is a bullish MBZ. Why is it not the best? Because two reasons, or actually, yeah, two big reasons. We're not inside a higher time frame bullish zone, which is an MBZ. Again, for those of you that missed it, it's this 4-hour MBZ that I just talked about. We'll just wait for it to load here. So we're not inside of that, as you can see, when the market is all the way up here. Number two, it's in a statistical premium. So we're pretty much expecting some sort of breakout at New York Open. That's pretty low probability, right? It's probably not going to happen. So as you can see, this is a low grade setup. I gave it a C. And then as we approach the rest of the day, this here is a setup that I took. It's pretty much the only trade I took. And this is a B- setup, right? Worth a shot. Pretty quick entry and just down to that low. But do we all see the difference in this one and this one? This one, we already have a clear trend. Strong displacement away from the high. And I'm looking at a continuation opportunity. But it's also in a premium. So that's a pretty decent opportunity, right? Can't put too much risk on here, but decent enough risk to get exposed down for this low for a target. Now again, as we're continuing into the rest of the setups here, just based on the 5-minute, I want you guys to notice exactly what I talked about earlier. If we have all of these variables that we talked about, it's an A+. If we're missing one or two, the grade decreases. And now notice here, we have 2. We have a directional bias. Higher time frame is bullish. We're inside a higher time frame bullish MBZ. But what's missing? We're in a premium. We're not in a discount based off the statistical range. So you see how the setups didn't really play out. Pretty lethargic movement, slow, consolidated, and eventually broke down. Now notice the difference in these long setups compared to this one here or this one here. You see how it's all coming together now? We have a higher time frame MBZ. Directional bias is bullish. This time though, we're in a discount. You see how immediately it just pushed up. Same thing here. This one right here was a pretty low risk setup going into market on close. You not only have all these criteria met, but you also have a continuation off the reversal, which is the easier opportunity in most cases. And you can see how quickly it shot up to that premium. So give me a thumbs up if all of this made sense and now you guys see the picture and what I'm talking about all the time. And then what we could do is go down to different time frames and it'll be the same thing. You just have to pair it with different time frames. And so when you do this every single day, it should be not necessarily, I would say, easy, but a lot less troublesome, right? So now, biggest question of all for me, do you guys have any questions on what I just talked about? By the way, I did put out a pretty cool update for you guys. I know there was a couple requests to put on 2 symbols for SMT. I made sure if you're on specific symbols, it's going to be automated too. So we can take a look here at gold. Gold should be using silver and platinum. So let me just wait for it to load here. Yeah, there it is. So we have silver, platinum, platinum, silver, platinum, and it bases it off the MBZ setup. So same thing on crude oil. You have a question, Keith. Do I prefer the liquidity filter on or off? I prefer it off. So whatever the default settings are on for the indicator, those are the settings that I recommend because it's less noise. It's just things that you focus on. When you do have the filter on, and what Keith is talking about is this filter right here, require liquidity MBZ directional alignment. It's based off the continuation ones. So if I turn this on, it's only going to look for bullish opportunities after that reversal. So since we had a bullish reversal there, it's only going to look for bullish continuations. That's what this means. The reason I like to have it off is because there might be decent opportunities regardless. So if you want more filters, the indicator has that available. So if you want to filter a lot more setups off, then you would turn this on. And it would give you a clear directional bias. Yes, Bilal. So if you do see MBZs in a premium, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to completely avoid them. It just means you have to be careful and understand that they are probably B rated setups or C rated setups and not A plus. So do you guys see the difference here? Bullish, bullish, bearish, 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 because this was the initial reversal. So if I turn that off, it's going to show you all the bullish ones again. We'll just wait for it here. And there it is. So you see how it filters all those out, and you're basically aligned with the initial reversal from the morning just by turning this on. And if we do that, to be honest, I think this was pretty much 100% win rate just on the 5 minute since the morning. Short, 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 long, long. And I think I have this off. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of crazy. It's not always like that, by the way. I just want to point that out. Let's see if anyone else has questions. Yeah, of course, Vish. That's what these recaps are for. And again, if you have any questions, you guys can always drop them in the trading chat throughout the day. That's what I'm here for. Oh, yeah. So that's a really good question by Merch. Do I just slap on contracts when I see an MBZ? And again, that goes back to what I just talked about. A plus, B, or C. If I know it's an A plus, like this, for example, I was busy around this time with a one-on-one, but this is an A plus. We have all the criteria. So in this case, I would slap on a couple contracts already. If it's micros or minis, doesn't matter, right? Get exposed a little bit. And either it's going to give you more opportunity to add here, or it's really just going to take off. Because again, it's an A plus. Versus if it's a B rated setup, or a C, you might want to wait for 50% to get tagged first. As long as you understand how to be able to tell the difference between the setups, you'll be able to answer that question, Merch. Yes, my entry was on the short here, on the 5-minute. It doesn't have to sweep liquidity because, again, we have type 4 MBZs, right? Type 4 MBZs are not sweeping liquidity. They're just repricing into some inefficiency. So, for example, let me just turn off the stat ranges for a second. What is this MBZ actually going and based off of, right? It's not sweeping liquidity here. It's actually just looking at that bullish gap right there. And so it's waiting for an opposing candle, and then it close above that 50% mark of that bearish candle. Once that's confirmed, that's your MBZ. So again, you don't have to wait for a liquidity sweep like this. You can just use a type 4 continuation. But as long as you have all the other metrics, makes it much better. Exactly, Merch. If you see an A plus setup, don't question it, right? You guys will get more confident as time goes by. But if you see an A plus setup like this, and you're in a discount in this case, and you have that higher time frame 4-hour MBZ, don't question it. Just try it, right? If you're still trading throughout the day. All right, cool. So I hope this was insightful. As mentioned, I will be updating this after the live, and then I'll probably include the notes that we just talked about, probably polish them up and make it a default for the writing here. But yeah, I'll probably update this after the live. So let's do a quick giveaway.